Hello, I am Dr. Linda Parker. There comes a moment in life, usually after 60. When you pause for a second, look around your home, your memories, your family, and whisper to yourself, why am I forgetting the things I once held so tightly? It's not just about misplacing your glasses or forgetting WAGBR ere you left your keys. It's that quiet fear deep inside, the fear of losing the stories that shaped you, the moments that made you who you are. You deserve better than that. You've lived too much life, survived too many storms, loved too deeply to let something so simple steal your memories away. ABRND. Yet every day, without even realizing it, millions of people fall into a common habit that silently ages the brain, draining focus, slowing recall, and robbing them of the clarity they once had. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your brain is not getting old, it's reacting to what you repeatedly do every single day. The tragedy is that this habit is so ordinary, so common, so underestimated that we never even question it. But the moment you understand it, the moment you break it, you awaken the sharper, stronger, more vibrant mind that has been waiting inside you all along. And today, that awakening begins with you. Your memory doesn't fade because of age alone. It fades because of repeated daily habits that weaken the brain over time. The kind of habits we never question because they feel so normal, so harmless, so ordinary that we barely notice the slow damage happening beneath the surface. People often blame age for forgetfulness, but age is only a number. Your brain responds not to the candles on your birthday cake, but to the choices you make every single day. The truth is, your mind ages faster when it is deprived, overstressed, undernourished, overwhelmed, or ignored. And what hurts the most is that we often participate in our own memory decline without realizing it. We adopt routines that steal our clarity piece by piece, routines that drain our mental sharpness one tiny moment at a time, until the day we finally recognize the signs, the hesitation in recalling a name, the pause in the middle of a sentence, the frustration when searching for a familiar word that just one T come. But by then, the habit has been repeating for years. Your brain is not failing you. It's signaling you. It's telling you that something in your daily rhythm, something in the way you eat, think, rest, or move, is slowly exhausting the very organ that controls your memories. Think of your brain like a powerful engine. Over time, even the strongest engine will slow down if you feed it the wrong fuel, if you never clean it, if you let it run non-stop without rest, or if you expose IBRT to stress day after day. The human brain is no different. It thrives on nourishment, stimulation, rest, and emotional peace. But many adults, especially after 60, fall into patterns that weaken all four. One of the most damaging habits is mental inactivity. When the brain is not challenged, not stimulated, not pushed beyond routine thinking, its neural pathways begin to weaken. Memory relies on active connections, but the less we use these pathways, the faster they fade. Doing the same tasks every day without variation creates a mental autopilot that starves the brain of growth. You may not realize this because it doesn't hurt the way a muscle would, but internally your brain is shrinking from lack of challenge. Something as simple as avoiding new experiences can silently dull recall over time. Another destructive habit is chronic stress, a burden many older adults carry without even acknowledging it. Stress releases cortisol, and long-term exposure to cortisol damages the hippocampus, the very part of your brain responsible for storing memories. People often think emotional struggles cannot affect memory, but they absolutely do. A stressed brain cannot function cleanly, cannot organize thoughts efficiently, and cannot hold on to details with energy. When you spend years living under pressure, worrying about family issues, finances, health concerns, or unresolved emotions, your brain becomes stuck on survival mode instead of memory mode. The habit of holding everything inside PBR, ushing through without releasing stress, is one of the quietest and deadliest killers of memory strength. Equally harmful is the habit of poor sleep. Many adults consider sleep an inconvenience, or they believe that waking up multiple times at night is simply aging. But sleep is not just rest, at IBRS repair. During sleep, the brain washes out toxins that build up during the day, toxins strongly linked to memory loss. When you sleep less than your brain needs, or when your sleep is constantly interrupted, your brain cannot complete this cleansing cycle. Over time, those toxins accumulate in CRBR, inflammation that disrupts clarity and focus. And the worst part is that most people never link their sleep habits to their memory problems. Then there is the common habit of mindless eating, consuming foods that look satisfying but provide no nourishment for the brain. Highly processed foods, sugary snacks, unhealthy fats, and low-nutrient meals create chronic inflammation that weakens brain cells. A brain deprived of omega-3s, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals does not have the fuel it requires to function at its peak. And while many people believe memory loss is inevitable after 60, science shows something entirely different. People who nourish their brains properly often maintain clarity well into their 80s and 90s. It's not age that determines memory, it's nutrition. Another habit that steals memory is social isolation, even mild isolation. Humans are wired to connect. When conversations decrease, when interactions become minimal, when a person spends more time alone than engaged with others, the brain loses emotional stimulation. Studies show that loneliness accelerates cognitive decline faster than nearly any other lifestyle factor. And yet many people, unknowingly, drift into isolation, believing it is simply part of growing older. These habits, when repeated day after day, year after year, create an environment where memory struggles thrive. But here's the hope, the kind of hope people rarely hear. The brain is incredibly forgiving. It responds quickly to positive change. It can be rebuilt, rewired, rejuvenated. Even after 60, even after years of forgetfulness, even after moments of fear where you wondered if your clarity was slipping away for good. Growth is still possible because memory is not fixed, it's flexible. The human brain can strengthen at any age when you give it the right conditions. This is why awareness is everything. Because once you identify the habits that are harming you, you can replace them. Once you recognize that your memory decline is not destiny but routine, you reclaim power over your mind. You can challenge your brain again. You can feed it better. You can sleep deeper. You can release stress instead of carrying it. You can reconnect with people instead of withdrawing. And in doing so, you awaken a sharper mind waiting beneath years of repetition. Because your memory doesn't fade because of age alone, it fades because of HBR habits. And the moment you change those habits, you change your future. Small changes, consistency, awareness, and the right daily routine can restore mental clarity at any age. And this is one of the most empowering truths you will ever hear. So many people over 60 are told that decline is normal, that forgetfulness is expected, that slowing down is inevitable. But the reality is far different. The brain is not a fragile organ destined to fail with time. It is an adaptable, living, dynamic system that responds instantly to how you treat it. Small, intentional changes, not big, dramatic OVBR air hauls, are what bring the mind back to life. Because your brain doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency. It doesn't need complexity. It needs awareness. It doesn't need a strict routine. It needs the right one. Every tiny step you take builds momentum the brain understands and embraces. When you commit to simple daily habits, you begin feeding the brain the stability it has been craving. Something as small as a 10-minute morning walk increases oxygen flow, boosts circulation, and wakes up parts of the brain responsible for memory and focus. When repeated consistently, this single activator starts strengthening neural pathways that have been dormant for years. The beauty of the brain is that it doesn't judge your past, it responds to your present. Even if you've spent decades living on autopilot, it will begin to rebuild itself the moment you show it attention. Awareness is another PBR-powerful tool. When you become aware of what drains your clarity and what restores it, you begin living intentionally instead of reactively. You may start noticing how your mind feels foggy on days when you skip breakfast, or how your memory feels sharper when you reduce evening screen time. You may realize how much stress you carry in your shoulders, your breath, your thoughts, stress that silently blocks your ability to think clearly. Awareness turns invisible saboteurs into visible choices. It's not about stressing over everything you do, it's about paying gentle attention. The moment you start noticing, you start improving. The right daily routine doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, simplicity is what makes it powerful. A routine that supports mental clarity includes small, achievable actions repeated so consistently that they become automatic. For example, drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning helps restart brain hydration after hours of sleep. Hydration alone improves focus, mood, and memory recall. Taking 5 slow, deep breaths before starting the day lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that blocks memory formation. Spending 10 minutes reading, learning something new, or practicing a brain-stimulating activity like a puzzle, a word game, or a language gives your mind a daily workout that strengthens cognitive muscles. Even nutrition, when changed in tiny, manageable steps, transforms mental clarity. Adding a handful of walnuts, blueberries, or leafy greens to your meals feeds the brain the nutrients it needs to function smoothly. Swapping sugary snacks for protein or fiber-based ones stabilizes blood sugar, preventing mental crashes and confusion. The key is not to change everything at once. The key is to build small, steady habits that accumulate into major cognitive improvement. One of the most underestimated tools for mental clarity is movement. You don't need intense exercise, you need consistent movement. Something as simple as stretching your arms overhead, rolling your shoulders, or walking around your home for 2 minutes. Every hober sends fresh blood and oxygen to the brain. Movement breaks stagnation both physically and mentally. Many older adults feel mentally stuck because their bodies spend too much time in stillness. But when you move, your brain wakes up. When you move consistently, your brain strengthens. Consistentable. Why? Emotional clarity is just as crucial. When you carry unexpressed worries, unresolved memories, or heavy emotions, your mental space becomes crowded. One small change, writing your thoughts down at night, talking to someone you trust, or practicing a moment of gratitude frees your mind from chaos. Makes room for clarity. This emotional release doesn't just feel good, it chemically improves brain function. A calmer brain recalls better, thinks faster, and focuses deeper. But the most transformative aspect of all is consistency. Small habits done once change your life. Small habits daily create miracles. The brain thrives on repetition because repetition builds wiring, and wiring becomes the foundation of memory and clarity. When you repeat a positive habit every day, your brain begins forming a new identity, one of strength, awareness, stability, and resilience. This is why the right routine becomes your power. It becomes your anchor. It becomes the rhythm your brain depends on to stay sharp, calm, and energized. It's never too late to reclaim mental clarity. Your age does not limit your ability to grow. Your past habits do not define your future clarity. Your brain can rebuild at 60, at 70, at 80, and beyond, because the blueprint for healing never disappears. It has simply been waiting for you to take the first step. And that step isn't huge or overwhelming. It's a small, simple, repeatable, the kind of step you can easily take today. Small changes done with consistency, awareness, and purpose are enough to reshape your mind, elevate your focus, and restore the clarity you thought you lost. Because your brain is not fading, it is waiting. And the moment you begin nurturing it, even with the smallest habits, it begins shining again. Your brain is capable of building strength, focus, and recall even after 60, when you remove the habits that silently damage it. And this truth is far more powerful than any fear you've held about aging. Most people believe that once memory starts slipping, once names get harder to recall, once thoughts feel slower, the decline is permanent. But the brain is not a machine that rusts with time. It is a living, adaptable organ capable of healing, rewiring, and growing at any age. The moment you stop repeating the habits that drain it, you give it space to repair. The moment you replace harmful routines with supportive obrnes, the brain begins constructing new neural pathways, strengthening old ones, and restoring clarity you believed was gone forever. The human brain has something extraordinary called neuroplasticity, the ability to change its structure and function throughout your entire life. This means that every new choice, every new habit, every new pattern of thought literally reshapes your brain from the inside out. Even after 60, even after years of wear and tear, your brain responds instantly to what you give it. When you remove daily habits that harm it, chronic stress, poor sleep, inactivity, isolation, and poor nutrition, you free the brain from constant survival mode and allow it to shift into repair mode. This is when healing begins. This is when clarity returns. Think of your brain like a garden. If you keep pouring toxins into the soil, if you neglect it, if you allow weeds to grow uncheckable, eventually the flowers will fade. But if you stop the damage, stop the toxins, clear the weeds, nourish the ground, the garden doesn't just survive, it blooms again. The brain works the same way. Remove the damaging habits first, and you create the environment your mind needs to rebuild. When you reduce chronic stress, for example, you protect your hippocampus, the memory center of your brain, from further damage. The hippocampus shrinks when exposed to constant stress hormones, but it can also regrow when stress levels drop. Simple practices like mindfulness, deep breathing, journaling, walk in Burji, or talking through worries begin repairing the emotional burden that steals mental clarity. When you create emotional safety, your memory strengthens. When you improve your sleep, you enhance your brain's natural detoxification process. During deep sleep, your brain washes away waste proteins linked to memory decline. When sleep improves, this cleansing becomes efficient again, restoring mental sharpness and reducing the mental fog that comes from years of interrupted rest. Sleep is not just rest, it is reconstruction. And when you remove habits that disturb sleep like late caffeine, screens at night, naps too late in the day, you give your brain the deep recovery it needs. Physical movement is another powerful healer. Many older adults underestimate the impact of movement on memory, but when you simply walk, stretch, or move regularly, you boost blood flow and oxygen supply to the brain. This nourishes your neurons and triggers the growth of new brain cells. Movement is not just exercise, it is brain fuel. Stop the habit of prolonged sitting, and your mind begins to brighten. Social isolation is another silent destroyer of mental sharpness. Loneliness weakens cognitive function by reducing emotional engagement, conversation, and mental stimulation. But the moment you reconnect, even through a single daily conversation, a hobby group, or a shared activity, you reignite parts of the brain responsible for emotional memory and verbal recall. Removing the habit of isolation is like opening a window in a dark room, suddenly light returns. Nutrition plays an equally vital role. When you stop feeding your body processed, sugary, or inflammatory foods, you stop inflaming the brain. Inflammation is one of the leading causes of memory decline, but when you reduce it by choosing whole foods, healthy fats, antioxidants, and omega-3s, the brain begins repairing the damage. Clarity returns, focus improves, and memory recall strengthens. Removing harmful foods is often more powerful than adding good ones. Even mental stagnation, a habit many fall into after 60, can be reversed. When you stop going through life on autopilot and start challenging your mind with new experiences, reading, learning, or creative activities, you activate neuroplasticity. The brain thrives on novelty. The moment you interrupt routine with stimulation, growth begins again. What matters most is this: your brain never stops wanting to heal. It never gives up on you. It never stops trying to become stronger. When you take away what harms it, even small steps, your brain responds with energy, clarity, and renewed sharpness. It doesn't matter how long you've felt forgetful. It doesn't matter how long you've feared decline. It doesn't matter how long you've believed the myth that aging equals cognitive loss. What matters is the choice you make today. If you remove the habits that silently weaken your mind, you unlock the natural ability of your brain to grow, rebuild, and thrive. Even after 60, your brain is not slowing down, it is waiting. Waiting for you to make room for healing. Waiting for you to break the habits that dim its strength. Waiting for you to nourish it, challenge it, and care for it. And when you do, it responds with a clarity you never expected to feel again. Because the brain does not age based on time, it ages based on how you treat it. And when you remove the silent destroyers, you give your mind the chance to shine again. In the end, your memory, your clarity, your focus. These are not things you lose forever. They are parts of you that simply fall asleep when liberté, stress, and unhealthy habits become too loud. But now you know the truth. Your brain is not finished, not broken, not beyond repair. It is waiting for your attention. It is waiting for the moment you decide that your future matters more than your old routines. When you take even the smallest step simpler meals, deeper rest, better movement, a calmer mind, you awaken a strength inside your brain that has been quiet for far too long. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, more alive. And slowly, the confidence returns, the sharpness returns, the joy of remembering returns. You deserve a mind that supports you, not one that scares you. You deserve to wake up each day knowing you are not declining, you are improving. You deserve to feel the power of a brain that is healing with every good choice you make. So step forward, gently but firmly. Let today be the day you reclaim your clarity, your focus, your memory. Your brain is ready. Now it's your turn.